Hi, and welcome back to Just Ask the Question. I'm your host, Brian Karem. With me today, Tom Arnold. Tom, it's good to have you here. It's good to have you back. And we started out the year together on stage somewhere in Los Angeles, and I had to check in. How are we doing a year later?
Well, you know that our stage show, which we did once at the Comedy Chateau over there with Hal Sparks, people come up because I've been on a tour around the country since May, everywhere, too many places, and there's always someone that comes up, even if I'm in Montana or Wyoming or someplace conservative. That kind of guy sneaks up and goes, "I really like that show that you and Brian put on at the." I go, "What? Yeah, we've really enjoyed that." And they've shared it, and so that's it was just a lot of fun doing it with you guys.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was.
just a lot of fun to sit there and get a rhythm with you guys. You have your rhythm, Hal has his, and it really worked out. We didn't practice,
No.
we got into some weird stuff. Your son was in the front row, which is just great. It was great fun. But can you believe a year ago,
Yeah.
I was thinking back today, we come in first of the year, we're like, I'm positive a little bit. It's going to be, everybody thinks it's going to be bad. Everybody thinks Trump's going to really, really be worse than ever. And we're kind of like, well, we'll deal with it. And right now, it is worse than I could have ever imagined. I knew he was capable of it because I've known him so long, but it gets worse by the minute.
Yes.
And the stuff that he is doing, I'm not talking about policy stuff even. I'm talking about the personal stuff. And you realize, you have to know by now, this guy has zero character, zero morality, zero compassion or empathy. And it's bad when you have a president like that. And other than that, his ego is so big. He has to be the star of everything, whether it's the Kennedy Center or Rob Reiner and his wife getting murdered,
Yeah.
horrible situations. And any one of those things before, any other president, that'd have been it. Like
Yeah.
any one of those things, first of all, people around him would have said, you cannot do that. You cannot,
Well,
yeah. So he's done it
everyone
all.
around him is just they just give in to him. He had
Yeah,
some checks and balances in his first administration.
yeah,
These guys just defer to him. And hell, you can look at what he said over his so-called Christmas message to people around the country, the crazy Epstein lovers, and what he said about Rob Reiner. And I know you knew Rob, and
yeah. Great guy, great patriot.
yeah,
He put his neck out there for what he believed in. He's a great father too. And,
yes,
it's a horrible story that happened. It happens. Kevin, I think his name's Kramer, is a senator from North or South Dakota. His son, killed a cop, and the mental illness, and it affects every family. The chemical abuse, the mental illness, and it was just the ultimate shocking tragedy and a moment for Trump to shut the fuck up. And people, some of his people, I saw some of his people come on TV and say good things about Rob Reiner,
yeah,
James Woods,
James Woods,
Rob Schneider.
yeah,
They didn't go after Trump like they could have, but he really was great. He was a brilliant. Movies are so great that you think about Spinal Tap and Stand by Me, and the one with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. I mean, his
yeah, Feel
variety of
Good
work.
Man, yeah,
Yeah,
the American president, and he even addresses Trumpism in the American president. And
he
yeah,
was
I've kept my amp at 11 since I first saw Spinal
Spinal
Tap.
Tap. Always. But the thing is, and I think that to honor him, is he did not want anybody to forget about what happened on January 6th.
Right.
How horrible that was. How that never an assault like that on our country, our Constitution, on our, and there's a lot of people that, Trump's fired everybody that helped prosecute people, or, he's trying to make us forget it. And we just can't. A lot of people around him are those fucking terrible suck ups. They're trying to rewrite history, but I think this is something we need to do, and then be inspired by Rob Reiner, who was not going to let this go. And so, that's the best I could, the best I could say. I have to say too, him hosting the Kennedy Center Awards, him
Yes.
the MC, putting his name in front of JFK. How does anyone think that is okay? I mean, anyone, even the MAGA people, the worst MAGA people, at some point you go, Jesus, he
Yeah.
is awful. He is done. When's enough? He's making billions of dollars off this presidency. His family has enriched himself. He's tearing down the fucking White House to build shit that we don't need, and spending money and getting $billion airplanes from people that are not necessarily on our best friend list in the Middle East. And because again, I always think about it. He only cares about himself. How do things affect him? If you say you love him, he will love you. He will pardon you. If you give him money, he will pardon you. He doesn't care about your character. He doesn't care about what you did. But you can be the best person in the world. And if you don't love him, then he hates you.
Yeah.
And, well, you can serve the country, John McCain. There's a million examples that should have been one too many for the people in his party, the people. But he's going to continue doing it. And he's not going to stop. The Epstein thing is my favorite thing, though, because that's been satisfying. Because he comes in, him and the FBI guy, everybody that runs the are just so incompetent and so subservient to him. It really, everything he complained about Biden, him and Hunter Biden, he's done 1,000 times worse. And at first they're like, well, you understand, he wants to get even, but no, this is so. I think that at some point, hopefully, there will be one too many.
I'm not holding my breath after 10 years of this crap, but I agree with you. I hope.
He can't stop himself. But the FCC thing, let me say, he's coming in, get to the bottom of it, the Democrats, the lizard people, because all those QAnon people supported him. He played to them. Then they get in there, and I think they actually took a look at it. And he's everywhere, of course. How could he not be everywhere? They were best friends for 10 years. And then they're like, okay, Pam Bondi handled it so perfectly. It's like, we researched everything. There's nothing there. And his people were like, oh, hell no. We want it. And the more that comes out, the more he says it's a hoax or whatever, and they're still protecting him. They're still, redacting. And they actually made a statement. There might be things in here that make Donald Trump look guilty, but he's not guilty. Who says that? They release all the Bill Clinton stuff, but I think there's more to come. And, that's on him. That's why he's so angry, because he thought, my people, I'll just tell them to get over it. There's nothing there. And, but there's more to come. And there's more to come with some of his cronies. They're involved, the billionaires that he loves so much. And, the financial stuff. And, a guy named Ted Waite, who created a Gateway computer. I went to college with him. And Ted ended up, he's an Iowa guy. So he ends up meeting Ghislaine Maxwell. And they end up engaged. This is during this, I forget what years, during the middle of this stuff. And, he's in love with her. Ted had a ponytail. He's a very dirty Iowa guy. And he meets this woman with an accent who's, educated and everything. And so they would spend a lot of time hiding out from FC. She's done with him. Is this, that? And he knows the financial stuff, because at one point he called me and said, come meet with me, because he knew I was doing the Trump stuff. He goes, here's the deal. It's the financial stuff. Because Trump's relationship with Epstein was, they only broke up. Trump says, I dumped him because Epstein would not loan him more money.
Right.
After the housing bubble or whatever, 2008. He was not a good risk, and that's when, Trump's like, okay, I hate you.
Yeah.
But the other stuff, just being around him all the time, just starting a modeling agency with him, with young teenage girls. And Trump just loves that. You can see it. He says it.
Well, what did he say about his own daughter? He'd date her.
Yeah.
She's so good looking. If she wasn't my daughter, I'd date her.
But he lied. He says he's never been on the plane. He's been on the plane 8 times. He never, never been in his house. He's in his house a lot. Trump is a predator and a pervert. I don't know that if he did something with little girls, but he is a predator for sure. And that's something to consider next time we vote for someone. And what Trump does is RFK Jr. is a total fucking predator, addict, a fucking narcissist, and he's like, I'm going to put him in charge of something that could kill a lot of children and will kill a lot of children. And, you get Elon Musk, a guy with no moral, no empathy, very smart, but no empathy. He's going to cut U.S.
A lot of ketamine.
Yeah, we're going to kill people right away. We're going to cut their aid. We're going to cut their AIDS medicine. We're literally going to kill people in Africa, thousands and thousands of people, and with no reason except we're slashing stuff. We don't care. We're just going to go in there. And so, but they represent Trump. That is his administration. People that are cruel and cruel to fucking immigrants and cruel to, and he keeps doing it. So the public does not like it, but he doesn't care.
No, he does. Well, and that brings me to where, we were last year. We were talking about the intersection of comedy and free speech. And one of the things that he does care about are criticism. So he's gone after, you see Barry Weiss cutting stuff from 60 Minutes. You see Donald Trump getting upset with Saturday Night Live, suing the BBC because they edited something he didn't like. Do you think he has been effective in stifling free speech, at least in the arts?
Well, of course. And of course, with, when his billionaire buddies buy the companies that own the shows, and with the promise they'll fire anybody that he wants. You put Barry Weiss, who has no experience.
None.
Real journalist going in there just full of herself and, kowtowing to the Trump administration. It's devastating because 60 Minutes, I grew up with that. You grew up with that.
Yeah.
It is devastating. So, but the Jimmy Kimmel thing was a ray of sunshine because he stood up and ABC came in and said, okay, we got your back. And the advertisers, first, the whole section of the Sinclair stations, very right-wing stations, very conservative. They're like, we're never putting you back on. After one day, after everybody else did, he was back on. In fact, there was a Friday night when they're going to have a Charlie Kirk special on it instead of Kimmel. And they put Kimmel back on. They never did a special. So,
well, that's all about money, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's more, that's why I was wondering how long his type of blockage would stay in place, because of the fact that people do like Kimmel, people do like comedy, people do like, everything brought to him, and they pay for that. And Donald Trump ain't going to make you money. He's just going to keep you from money.
And no MAGA people are funny. There's zero. You can't go, this MAGA comic is hilarious. There are zero. Greg Gutfeld is the least funny person. He might be funny if he can make fun of Trump. I don't know. But their people are not talented. They make shit movies. Nobody cares. And they say, well, the solution.
Names there? Or you want me to?
All of them. The solution is to fucking destroy the good people, the artists, the people that are doing different things, instead of trying to make your shit better. But, there's a whole load. You just look at anybody that's gone MAGA, and all they do is complain, well, I can't get a movie, a liberal movie, because whatever. No, it's because you're shitty and you're terrible. And people, if I don't get a movie, I don't blame anybody. That's part of it. It's such an honor to be in a movie or to be on TV or to be a comedian, that if you spend all your time saying, oh, woe is me, that doesn't work. People, that's what they do. They're like, well, I could be doing this shit. Well, but to be honest, if they did great shit, people would go.
Yeah.
All the action stars at one time, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, very conservative. Charlton has all for the history, very conservative Republicans, and did very well. So
yeah, because they were talented.
Yeah.
I mean, I may not agree with their politics, but I wouldn't mind watching a movie with them.
and they weren't MAGA. Because
Yeah.
once you're MAGA, there's no, because now they hate Ronald Reagan. He's not, he wasn't MAGA enough. And so I assume that the bubble's going to burst. I've seen a guy named Tim Dillon, who is a right-wing comedian, but he's actually funny. And I've seen him do a couple things lately, about Erica Kirk or stuff that nobody else would be doing, but he makes some good points. Or when they got booked to Saudi Arabia, all the comedians. Yeah. And he was booked, and he got unbooked because he mentioned slavery. And he was explaining it on his show. He goes, what they didn't realize is that I am pro-slavery. It's very funny. He just is a very funny guy. And Jeff Dye's funny. There's a few that are funny guys that are conservative. They're not Trump MAGA, though, but they're conservative. And so, I think from my experience, this tour, it's getting better and better. And people, from when I started, people were very sensitive about Trump, especially right after he got elected. And I had some issues with crowds or whatever. But now, I pace myself. But now they don't. If you do jokes, they're not defensive. No. They're not, it's a whole different thing. And, people that come to my shows usually are not MAGA for sure. But, they're up for it, whether you're in Idaho or, Montana, wherever you are, the most conservative places, they're up. Because at the end of the show, I sign stuff and meet people and talk to people. And, you hear a lot from people that used to be that voted for him that are
now.
The women are so fucking over it, but we're stuck with him. We're stuck with him, and I
don't see them invoking the 25th Amendment. I don't see them impeaching him. And he might go, face over in his cornflakes someday, or end up on his back babbling like a cicada. But until that happens, I don't think.
I do see us impeaching him after the midterm elections, just because there's so much. But we got to pick and choose who we impeach. I think Pam Bondi will be first, and just to get them in there testifying.
Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy. God, he's so dangerous.
And Hegseth.
But the cross-eyed guy, the FBI guy. But they're so stupid. Yeah, they're so stupid. They're such grifters, and we drop our respect that we had in this country and around the world has just dropped off a freaking cliff. Nobody.
I was in England and in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, and there are people, when they found out they found out I was from the United States, they go, I'm sorry. And then when they found out I was a White House reporter, they go, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, they got their own shit going on over there, but not like this.
No, not like this. But, to your point, I was up on stage and I said, where are my Trump supporters? Right. And I get a faint smattering of applause, and I go, okay, where are my liberals? And I get a applause. I go, okay, neither one of you are going to be happy about what I'm going to say. So, first of all, if you have to tell me you're woke, I don't think you are. And secondly, don't tell me you're not a racist when you don't like everything but afterwards, to your point, after I got off stage, I had half a dozen people that came up to me and go, I voted for him once and I will never do it again. And I wish I wish I had my vote back. And
And I think the people that come to see you or me, they're not the worst of the worst. They're willing to hear and know they might hear something that's not exactly what they hear, whatever news outlet they do. And they're willing to do that. They want to have a good time. They want to learn something. And, the problem is there's a lot of people that just are incapable. Before the show, we were talking about my ex-wife, who is a crazy anti-vaxxer. There's no amount of education. I got a thing from her, and I yesterday that said there's a
just to verify that's not Roseanne, right? No, that's your portion.
She's MAGA too, but this is worse. I got a thing that said there's a 98% chance there's going to be a 7.2 earthquake in where we live in the next 72 hours. It sent me a link to the person that said that, which is, and immediately when she said shit like that, I have to get on and debunk it, that nobody can predict earthquakes like that. But she's a believer. I have to keep her away from the house, so I have to let her know I've considered this. We're safe, but it's just not true. And same with the vaccines. She said, because I got the kids vaccinated, I put the government put cameras in their bodies and computers, and just like she is full on, and the vaccines cause terminal cancer. And she'll write like, how many people that you know very well did you just find out today they had terminal cancer? And I go, none, none. And thank God, it's a good day. But it's hard when you look at somebody's eyes. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
And
I've seen that look. I know.
so at least when she's going after the vaccines or the earthquakes, she's taking a break from going after me, which is good. I'm always trying to find a common enemy with her, but it's impossible. Yeah,
Patel has those eyes.
She's Trump. She likes all those guys,
Yeah.
But there's no common enemy. She'll be one of the other mobs, a little bit terrible, and but then I know she's gonna go back and be best friends with that person. Like, so I do. It's kind of fun to do the research real quick and send it back. It has no effect on her. She doesn't ever go, oh, okay, she's on to the next conspiracy.
Do you think there's hope for free speech moving forward, or do you think Donald Trump's going to cramp our style even more?
Yeah. Well, I think that it permeates a lot of things. But as you know, I've been down to Superior Court in LA here in the Stanley Moss building 35 times in the last few years with my ex. And there's always sleaze bag. I mean, the level of attorney that she started with a good one. If you get divorced, you want two people to have good attorneys. They'll go back and forth a little bit because that's what, divorce is very emotional. And so we got this, they got this. But at a certain point, they're going to look at the money. How much money is there? And then they're going to be, we're settling, because they're good and they all know each other. But if you can't get a good lawyer, you still want to bring crazy things into court, you start working your way down. And those guys all seem like they're auditioning to be in the Trump administration. They just lied. They let her lie. They I don't know if they're just willfully ignorant or unethical or, it got whatever, all the above. And I think they're like, yeah, this is how you do it now. You don't have to, no facts, no science, no basis in anything. I sense down there the judges have had it too. They made sure, because there was talk of they were going to send in ICE into that building to start arresting people, and they beefed up security at both doors. They all had a big meeting. My sponsor of 25 years is a judge down there, Jeffrey McFarland, and they all got together and said, here's what we're going to do about it, because they are all on the same page on that. In their courtroom, that's their fucking courtroom.
Right.
Nobody, ICE, nobody, that is their thing. And it's really how it's supposed to be. Can't come running in there with guys with masks. Yanking somebody off the stand. Oh, they haven't done that because but they're very aware of all this stuff. They're trying to keep it, here in California, we're lucky. It's going on, but they're trying to keep it, but freedom of speech, I have to tell you, for me, we go in there and she'll say, well, he talked about me on a podcast. I go, yeah, I did. I talked about our legal stuff, which is public record, on a podcast. And the judge is like, keeps saying to her lawyers, have you heard of the First Amendment at all? Have you heard of this? And by the way, she does a podcast where we talk about me. I don't give a shit. What she does is not my business. I don't care about social media. But they keep saying that. And they act, well, we're kind of familiar with it. And but it is a real thing. All of us, there's going to be opportunities for us every citizen, to speak up and say something that, if Trump heard it, he would probably have you investigated, or people would be mad or threaten you. But you have to do that. And if enough people do that, and you don't, these Republicans say, I would come out, but my family's got threats, I've got threats. That's the worst excuse ever. This is, people go to war for our country.
Yeah. What do you think of the far right who say, hey, the far left is as bad as the far right? You can't say anything. It's all DEI. It's all woke. They'll cancel you. everything is, about trans. I mean, they go on and on the screen.
Well, that shit is annoying. But it's maybe 5% on the far left that that doesn't like Israel at all. I can't see. It's not two sides. It's not that the trans of whatever. I don't even think they believe it, but then they want to cancel. Then it gets on all of us, the reasonable people, and we let it. That's unfortunate. We let it. The right side is 40%. 40% of their 50%. Maybe it's starting to get less, but they're all together. Arnold would always say that if you cut out the 10% of the left, far left, 10% of the far right, the 80% in the middle, this is a great country.
Yeah.
It's less than 80% because so many of them have transitioned over to the other thing.
And they don't support transitioning in sex, but they do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to blame the far left. We should have been like, come on, dude. And I think everybody got afraid because Democrats tend to don't want to hurt people's feelings or do the right thing or kind of wait and see how this is supposed to go. Let people be people, which I'm for. And they really took advantage of that. And the woke stuff that they don't know what that means, the DEI stuff, the whatever. And so the other side has gone so far over the top with it. They want to erase Black history in America. Overtly, they're only allowing white fucking South Africans, Afrikaners into the country. This fucking group of losers.
We're not racist as long as you're white.
Yeah. But they say it. They say it, man.
They say the quiet part out loud. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they say we love Israel, but they hate Jews. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're using that anti-Semitism thing. We're fighting anti-Semitism to attack Muslims and everybody else. But they genuinely, a big part of his base does not like Jews. They genuinely think we are the reason for most of the trouble in the world. The same thing people thought for a long time. But they genuinely believe that. He invites these people in to see him, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care who you hate as long as you love him. So
as long as there's money involved, it's all
some Jews are speaking up about this anti-Semitism stuff they're doing. They're using Jews to put this shit out there, and so they can shut down universities, shut down, the free thinkers, the smart people, and people are standing up to that. My people, your people, we're standing up to that, which makes me very happy because we get it now. At first, we're like, because there is a lot of anti-Semitism. Yes. There's a lot of ignorant fucks out there that do shit that is, but it's not just us. It may be our size of our population, but there's a lot of Black hate. There's a lot of immigrant hate. But I always said, my first rabbi is like, listen, if they're out there hating Black people and Hispanic people and gay people, but not Jews, you still got to do something because we are fucking next. We are always next. We're usually first, but we're always next. So everybody better get together. And I think that's hopefully those other segments of society realize we got to keep together because we have a common enemy. It's that guy and those people.
Well, yeah, to your point, first of all, as far as Democrats and Republicans, I've often said that we have two political parties in this country. One has no heart and one has no head.
Yeah.
Then as far as the hatred goes, the point that you make that you remember, it's been said often, I didn't speak up when they came after, so-and-so. And then when they came around to getting to me, no one spoke up because no one was left. So justice denied anywhere is justice denied everywhere. And Donald Trump doesn't. He is a racist. Yeah, I've seen him. I've heard him. But then again, he'll transactionally, he's fine. If you came to him, like you said, and said, I love you and here's some money, Donald Trump would go, I don't care, if you're Black or Jewish. I still hate you, but I'll take your money and I'll take your praise. Yeah. Loyalty with him, it was Michael Cohen who said loyalty with him only goes in one direction. You have to be loyal to him. He's never going to be loyal to you.
And Michael Cohen's a great example. And Elise Stefanik and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and all these people, especially he's very hard on women who've just lost their minds, given up everything, their morals, their ethics, to support him in every way when he needed it, and that because he thinks less of you because you're a woman. He does think less of you because you're black. And he would tell Michael, yeah, they're great in some jobs, but they can't like run a company. They can't run a company, or their countries are shitholes. And, so that about him. And what I have to say is too, because people that are not Jewish or people that are not Christian or whatever, they kind of lump Christians, Jews. And as you know, there's a bunch of different kinds of Jews. And there's all kinds of Jews. And the infighting between the Jews, we badmouth each other a lot. We don't like what other people do. And same with Christians. There's a lot of, most Christians that I know are pretty freaking great people. But there's a corner that ggets turned into this Trump stuff and the violent stuff. And, they can't, I think they try to police themselves a little bit, but I hope we do. But, like Israel, when they're fucking still assaulting Palestinians who live in Israel legally, just killing them, destroying their stuff, they need to be punished the same way that Palestinians are punished for. We need to keep that moral. You can't just go, well, they're mad because, no, they're savages. Yeah. They're hurting. Savage is a savage. They need to do it. And we need to do that too. But, when I hear the Christian hate, they're the most maligned people in the world. Trump is standing up for them. It makes me laugh so fucking hard. Yeah, God damn it.
Well, you know who they are. They're not true Christians. They're the Six Flags Over Jesus Christians.
Yeah.
The Church of the Waving Hands Jesus, who think that I talked to one of them and they started talking about, I said, well, wait a minute, let's go back to the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus coming out party, the Beatitudes about, welcome the traveler, treat everybody as if they're your neighbor. He goes, where the hell's that shit? That's too woke. Yeah. And I go, Jesus, it's actually Jesus.
There's a politician, I think he's a state senator or something in Texas, James, his name's Tala. He's got a long last name, but he knows the Bible. I'm always impressed with, I don't know the Bible. I don't know the Torah. I know a few things. We got a lot of freaking commandments, but I know, what goes around comes around. I know that, but he breaks down what these Christians are saying and the truth from Jesus calmly about everything, about immigrants, about feeding people, about healthcare. Just he has it right here. He's got that book memorized. And when I know some of the state assembly in Texas are trying to pass these really shitty bills where they cut black people out of vote. They do all these things to immigrants, and they say they're Christians. And him going back and forth explaining why that is the least Christian thing, not judgmental, but explain words. He knows that book very well.
Yeah. And my buddy John Fugelsang, same thing, comedian. You know him? Yeah, John does. He has a book about that too. And I think the guy you're talking about is it's not Talladega, but it's something like that.
Yeah, it is.
Talladega Nights. Tough room.
It was on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had him on. It was very just great. Yeah. This guy's the real deal. And to be able to go explain calmly what is the real story, because his version of Christianity sounds pretty fucking good, because it is all about Jesus, who was a Jew, and it is all about helping. And the other people are like, no, we've changed it. We're not going to help. We're going to help ourselves. Which I don't know any religion that's the centerpiece. Help myself. Fuck other people.
Yeah. Well, that works well with Epstein, but that was over the quarter when you entered Epstein Island.
Yeah. Well, let me say this too about Epstein. Bill Gates, Michael Jackson, you got to give him a pass, but these guys, and I know he's doing a lot of under the guise of charity work, but he's also a weird personality guy.
Who's that?
So what happened? Epstein. So what happened is they go, well, other famous people have hung out with him. then it must be fine. That we're not going to look too close, you know. And by the way, the society or culture back when Trump's like he likes young women more, almost as much as me or more than me, even younger. There was a time when men looked at that like, well, you date a teenager, you know, that's a, you know, whatever. And, you know, because FC's first trial of a buddy of mine was his attorneys, and it was really about, I forget how old the person was, but it was, you know, kind of a thing on the line. It was also, my buddy did the constitutional stuff, Roy Black. He just was dealt with the Constitution, not the morality or whatever. And then it came out, it was not that one person, 17-year-old. It was all this stuff. His attorneys didn't even know it. And there's a cascade. And it's even worse than we know right now. Because
Yeah.
when you have that thing, that pedophilia, you cannot stop, and you have to get younger and younger. And as things get more available, because the obsession, and you get a few people around you to help you with that, to overlook it because of money or whatever, blind them. And so all those people, you know, they should have taken a better look. And I'm sure Bill Clinton's like, oh, look, the stewardess, she's cute. Bill Clinton, you know, he's got a history with this stuff. And
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's but it's not okay.
No.
It's not okay. It's not okay to lie.
Well,
And now, you know, and Ghislaine Maxwell is not okay. I used to give her a little break because she was sort of, you know, he was so abusive to her that I'm like, well, she's like got the Stockholm syndrome or something, but she fully participated in all. In fact, he wouldn't have, you know, the girls, and they were girls, liked her. Look, oh, she's like the house mom at the sorority. You like her, you got an accent. She talks them into stuff, makes it seem okay because she's done it, whatever. And so he wouldn't have been as successful as a pedophile without her. And I also, all they did, Epstein and her and a few other people in the inner circle, would badmouth people like Trump, would badmouth, you know, because my buddy was her fiance. They badmouth Trump. They badmouth Bill Gates. They badmouth Bill Clinton. You know, they act like they're above it and they get it. These guys are, you know, what are they after? What are they after? And so,
but they facilitated it. They facilitated that. And to your point about pedophilia, I remember years ago on America's Most Wanted, and it doesn't matter if it's young boys or young girls. Like there's a place called NAMLA, North American Man Boy Love Association, who lobbies state legislatures to lower the age of consent laws so older men can booger younger boys or younger women, younger girls. They don't change. And I remember talking with this one guy, and we're walking in Manhattan, and he's telling me about, you know, how he likes to, you know, how he cozies up to young kids and brings them into, you know, his inner circle and then boogers them, to be, you know, as politically correct as possible. And I didn't see him. His name was Leland Stevenson, and I'm naming him because he was with NAMBLA and he's convicted. Leland, I saw him on I got on with my son, who at the time was about 9 or 10 years old. And we got on the metro in DC, and who was there? It was Leland. And he starts talking to my son, and he's doing the same shit. And I go, Leland, at the next stop, please just get up and walk ahead and leave my son alone. He goes, Brian, I thought you were, you know, open-minded. I go, no, not to this.
Well, here's the thing. These guys, what we know now from a lot of research, they can't stop. Some have been very helpful, said, I can't stop. I have a thing. I need help. And we'd be able to study them. You know, I don't know if I told this on here before, but when I was 4, my mother's terrible alcoholic, sloppy alcoholic, left me with a man so she'd go drinking, babysitter who raped me for 2 years. Back then, first of all, you don't know what's going on. You're like, something very violent is happening to me. And he would say, he lived right at my dad's house is down here. My dad would pull up. Everybody in Iowa had guns, of course. He had a rifle on his porch. He goes, man, I'd kill your dad so easy. So there was no way I was going to say anything. You know, my dad would see injuries that I had and give me a bath. I'd say I was from a tree in the woods, you know, and it was when I got sober, things kind of come together. And so one of the things I said, I got to find a guy, because I don't want that guy walking in Walmart in my hometown going, and see the famous guy? Like, that's what I might think. I'm going to get to him. And it took a little while. I practiced with my therapist. I didn't want to go to prison.
You're right.
And we found him in Des Moines, big church leader, big businessman, very successful. Practice what I was going to say. I go to his place of business. Lady reception, like, oh my God, it's Tom Arnold, because it's Iowa. I'm here to see Terry. She goes, I'll tell him. I go, don't tell him. Where's his office? I walk down the hall. He's at the end. He comes out of his office. Somebody told him. Start walking up towards me. I'm doing my speech. I practice 50 times with my therapist. Here to give you back the pain and shame because he's a kid. If you try to do that to me now, he came right up on me. And he's a big dude. I hadn't seen him since I was a kid. Stuck his finger in his chest and goes, your memories are wrong, which tells me he's probably been confronted before. And for a second, I was 4 years old. And I was in that room they used to take me into, and I could smell his laundry in the backyard. Like, it was, and then I realized I'm not 4 years old. I'm a 6'2" man. And so I grabbed his hand, bent him back, and said, and if you tried to do that to me now, I'd break your fucking neck. And I eyeball him. And all of his employees would come out because I'm there. They heard and saw this. So I release him. I go out, call Roseanne. Oh my God, I did it. Ton of bricks off my fucking shoulders. You know, my brother, and then I found out he's about to adopt his fourth son. So I went over to the state capitol to Terry Branstad. He was our Republican governor. I busted his office. I go, Terry, you got to stop this guy's statute of limitations. I've talked to the police, everything. He's about to adopt his fourth son. He's like, Tom, that's a federal offense. You asking me is a federal offense. You were never here. You have to leave. And so I left. I'm pissed. And a couple days later, my brother calls. The adoption fell through.
Yay.
So, and then I said, have I done enough? And so I had my farm hands, my brothers, put up signs, kid high, 6 blocks around his house, name, face, crimes, and then people take him down. We put him back up. And then 30 other boys came forward. Wow. And that's about as satisfying as a thing, because everybody knows he lost everything. He still got that thing. He's going to have till he dies. But now it's not a secret, including his brother who he'd done it to. So that was, wow. It's not like you could do one thing to these guys, you tell them off, and then you go. No, you got to stay on it. They do it. When you see that leaning on a train, he's doing it. Yeah. So now we know, well, this guy just can't be in public. This is not acceptable, or everybody has to know his deal because he is dangerous to children. So
yeah. Well, look, I want to switch up a little bit and talk about something a little more fun, and it does include children and the People magazine thing. But I want to start with you. During the age of COVID, they were going to cancel a movie you were on, but you picked up the slack. You had directed, as I remember, some television, but you hadn't directed a movie, and you took over directing the movie.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Well, here's the thing. During COVID, which I tell my kids is the best time of their life because they have to be homeschooled with dad. I don't know if they feel that way, but because I have been in court, it's public record so many times with the mom. She swatted us 5 times. There's a lot of stuff. It's expensive.
Yes, I know well. I helped you out with
That's true. During COVID, I really needed to work, and there's no work in America. And so got a job offer in Italy. But here's the thing. You have to get... First of all, my passport expired. I got no chance. The federal building's closed. I call Eric Slow on a Sunday. He's with his kids. He gets it open Monday morning. I go down there. I get my passport. Now I can travel. They send a nurse to your house to see if you have COVID. You don't. As soon as you land in Italy, they check you again. If you got COVID, you have to go back. You get no money. So I've kind of been working like that. And so I've always, I have bills. I have legal stuff. So I was getting ready to last January be in a movie and get paid well. I was like, that sounds like the right thing. I do, a few 4 or 5 different roles a year, and I was excited. And then the Palisades fire happened. Yeah. That's where our sets were. That burned everything down. They said, we've got to move it to March. And I'm looking at my finances. Nice. I go, okay, I can do that. I can hang on. And March, I got to call. They fired the director. They have to move to the end of the summer. I go, hold on. If you keep it on schedule, I will direct this movie. And I directed TV 100 years ago. They're like, oh my God, would you really? I go, yeah. So that's what happened. I came into a situation. They'd been working on it. You know, the writer.
Yeah, my mistake. I mistake COVID and the fire. But
yeah, but I got to tell my ex-wife story. Okay. But that's one of the reasons I love it. But anyway, went in. It's not something I would have done before because I'd be insecure about it. Like, you know, I'm not going to go, I have to direct this or whatever. But I went in and it worked very well. A lot of it was set up that I go look at the, you know, locations. They've done a great job. I do this, follow through their stuff. I do a pass on the script. It's all good. The writer's great to work with. Nice guy, sober guy too. One of my guys. So go in and shoot it. And, you know, it couldn't have been a better situation. And I think my specialty is working with the actors going, okay, that's great. What about, you know, and so it was an ideal situation. My daughter's in it. You know, my daughter read the script on her own. She was 9 and said, Daddy, I think there's a part for me. And I said, well, okay. The flower girl. I go, now there's 2 flower girls. So you and your friend can do that. And the next day she came and said, I think since my first movie, I should do it alone. And my friend, her friend was very moody. And I don't need that on my set. She came. She did great. I said, your daddy's going to be working. You know, you're going to have to hang out in hair and makeup. And your dad, I have to be out there. She said, no problem. The one thing she didn't like was when we got to the set, she met her teacher. You have to have a teacher. And she's like, do I have to go to school here? You do. So the next night, she said, I want to come back with you to work tomorrow. I go, well, you've already been in it. There's no extras or anything I could. She goes, I'll wear a hoodie. I'll walk behind. So I go, yeah, that's not that. She said, there's a movie theater scene. I'll just sit behind me. And I said, okay. And then she did it. And I was like, you know, because when you're in the wedding at the end, if you're randomly in a movie with the big guy. So she got a friend. They just did a really good job, the popcorn. And she really enjoyed it completely on her own. She went out for a play on her own. It's not me. They know what I do. So when I was editing it in here, I was making notes. It's 12:13. That shot, there's got to be another shot. There's got to be a better take, whatever. I left. She came in, watched it, made her notes. And I thought, well, that is so cute. I saved it. But it'd be like 4 minutes and 16 seconds. That guy's throat looks weird. And I'd look at it, and his throat did look weird. I changed it, but it was a great experience.
So she got an assistant director credit too?
Absolutely. It comes out. She's excited for the next one. She goes, I really want to be the star. I love that. But it comes out in February. It's a kind of a Valentine's. It's about instead of feeling all the shit of a breakup, it shuts down that part of your brain. So it's, you know, trouble ensues, of course, but it's very fun. Everybody was great. I'm very grateful.
Who's the lead? The place that
there's a young guy. Oh my God, the young guy is very good. You got a funny name. I'm spacing a little bit. I'm spacing on all the actors' names, but they're very good. A lot of young actors and a lot of old actors like me. I play the guy that invented the pill, and I'll get his name. Look it up. Get his name while I'm doing it for you. But
I'll look it up right now.
He's just great. He's the centerpiece, man. If he couldn't have played this stuff, because there's a lot to do. Because when you take the breakup pill and you meet somebody you like, and you're about to kiss, you start vomiting violently. Or he had to do all these crazy, and the person's like, what is the deal with this guy? But he was great, and the main woman was great, and you know, everybody, the supporting actors, and everybody was in it. It's a very low budget movie. The crew was basically working for free. They're off from that Sheldon, the guy that does the Yellowstone stuff. They work 9 months. He's got Landman. He's got a bunch of stuff.
McCabe.
What's that?
McCabe Greg.
Yeah, McCabe. I said he had a weird name, but he was really funny, and you know, he's a kid that can ad lib with you. And he really, if he couldn't have done it, it would have been awful. But he really is very good at comedy and very good at trying stuff. And he's cute. And, you know, I think big things are going to happen for him. And he's married to a supermodel from Norway, I think. And people always say to married to a supermodel, but when she came to the set, I'm like, oh my God, she is, and she really is. She's like a super famous, and he's got red hair, kind of, you know,
Ginger.
you know, but but yeah, very grateful the way it turned out. Grateful to the crew that we had free equipment, that the Motion Picture and Television Fund campus let us film out there. I'd be filming and there'd be all these retired cinematographers, actresses, actors who have many more credits than me. We do a good job of taking care of our own. I have to say that in this business. And they'd walk up. I was shooting one day, and a guy came up. He's 93. He's a very famous cinematographer. And he said, Tom, what lens are you using? I go, I don't know. What should I use? He said, I don't know. And he said, 4 or 5. I said, can you stay with me until the movie's over? And we put some of the actresses and actors in the movie, and it's such a good vibe out there. If you ever get a support, you want to support something that's very worthy, the Motion Picture and Television Fund, MPTF. It is the best charity. They have the best parties. They have the night before the Oscar party. Every big star's there. Night before the Emmy party. Every big star's. In fact, I got a fist fight with Mark Burnett at one of those in front of everybody in the business. And believe me, they remember it out there. So, it's great. And they take such good care of these people who've worked in our business and created our business. And I think Sam Goldwyn built the theater. They have a regular sized theater. Wow. The Haim Saban built the medical center, and it is crazy nice. And these guys deserve it. And we have to take care of our own. It's an honor. We need to support. So if anybody wants to support it, it's a very, very worthy cause. This is it.
Well, on an upbeat, as we come towards the end of the hour, I also read the piece that was in, and you had sent to me, that's in People. And what I found inspiring, this is one of the things that I've always said about you. I may have done I've made a lot of wrong decisions, but the one that I know that I made right ended up with my kids. And here we are raising 3 kids, and they're in adulthood. But what you said in the article about your kids keeping you grounded, I that to me was just one of the most moving things. And I'm not saying that just to be saying it, because it's how I feel about our kids. But I found that in this day and age, it's like something that we forget, that you're here and you're supposed to raise your kids.
Yeah. Well, I think because I had my son when I was 54, and it took a miracle of science. There's no sex involved. It was down in the laboratory. And the same with my daughter, who didn't even realize that a frozen embryo from 6 years before. And just a miracle. I tried 23 rounds of in vitro with 4 wives, and it failed. It's my issue. I have a very low sperm count, but I always said I wanted to be a father. I just thought at some point that's not going to happen. I've been blessed in many ways. And then this miracle happened with my son, which actually they did a surgery on me and cut open my scrotum and right into my testicle. He took a needle in case it was my tummy and found 1 sperm. And these geniuses put it with one of their mom's eggs who was already down there, and then to get my son. And I have more self-esteem. I get more satisfaction being their father, being with them, and every day. And again, all this stuff in court, the acrimony and the swatting and everything. Every day that I'm fully confident that every day with me is a day that their life is better. And I love it. I'm a great father. A lot of fathers, I am a great father. And there's some crappy fathers taking us down. But
yeah.
I make mistakes. I make mistakes, but I have made the big mistakes, and I see it pay off. My kids are doing so freaking well. When I hurt my back, my son, who's 12, went on the road with me. He's bigger than me. He's 6 foot something. But the way he dealt with people, on the road, he would deal with the photographs, the people. He would, one night, I'm on stage, I look over, he's sitting right over here. He's got a notepad. And afterwards, he came up and said, "You forgot to do 3 great jokes about mom." But he looks out for me, man. He's that way with his friends. He's empathetic. And my daughter has so much empathy for me and kindness. And it's because that's what I've shown them from day one. Every Band-Aid you put on, You really take the time. You put it on the other kids. Oh, I need this too. But we are extremely close. And I don't take a day for granted. They're better off for it. And also, the mom with the stuff she files, it used to just be about me, terrible, but now it's about the kids that she files because she's like, this will hurt him if I say the kids are all fucked up. And it's public record. And she gives it to a tabloid. She gives it down, you could get on the website and it's shameful. It's shameful. But it's so great to go in there and say, here's the real story about my son just graduated with honors. Like he's played 6 sports. My daughter, they have the best friends. We had a big sleepover last night. We have a lot of sleepovers and play dates here. We live in the valley. There's schools in Brentwood and Palisades. We have a long drive in the morning. But the parents respect and trust me enough to have their kids over here all the time. I don't take that for granted. And I respect them. And but it is the best life, and it is, there's nothing has
Only
ever
thing that
been more
matters.
Steve. Yeah, and I've done in the past. I've done it all. I had sex, drugs, booze. I had traveled the world, but everything with these guys, and this house is a laboratory for every relationship they're ever going to have. My son's 2 years, 9 months older. Sometimes they go out a little bit, but we work it out, and then when they have friends over, I pay attention. We talk about things. People say things that hurt your feelings sometimes. That you got to give them a break, see what they're really made of. You don't have to be invited to everything. Somebody doesn't invite you, fuck them. It's their loss. You're great because we can't invite everybody to everything, and the mom's always up in school trying to sue the school or pull them out of school. And I'll tell you, the teachers at this school district, from the superintendent on down, have been amazing. And if your kid's having some issues, you go down there. It's always on me. I don't blame her, other parents, the schools. If there's an issue, it's me. That means I'm not down there enough. That means I'm not doing enough. And because they have these independent education programs, which when I was young, they called it special education. Right. And when it first came out that potentially my son could be helped with one of those, I was like, oh my God, my son's going to be special education. Because of the way special education students were treated when I was a kid. And they were not in the class. And they were ostracized. And, I'm on the spectrum. I have Asperger's. But I couldn't figure out how that worked. And it's worked great. They have they comes out of a class, he's in class, and him and a couple other kids come out. They'll focus on math. They'll focus on whatever for an hour, a day. And it's really the success and the self-esteem that he has and my daughter, my daughter just got the citizenship, first half of school, the citizenship award, which my son will never get, or me. But, when he got last year the most improved student, I go, that's the award I want. Of all these, because there's some kids in there that are so freaking smart that are going to be scientists. And it's him, big son, saying this little girl, Indian girl, who is she's like ready to go to college, genius, but she's got her thing. And he's smiling because he has most improved student and killing it in sports, killing it, his friends and my daughter's friends, and knock on wood. But, every day is a gift from God that I'm with these kids.
And that is so good to hear. Best job I've ever had, parent.
You did a great job. You and your wife have done an excellent job. You're also an excellent husband. I mean, your wife's amazing. You got to give her most credit. But your family, man, you guys are, that's a great, that doesn't work out. There's a lot of guys our age that, have had 4 families. Any guy that's my age that has kids, my kid's age, it's not his first or second family.
Yeah.
They just aren't into it. I start talking about my kids to somebody my age, they're like, I don't. Or the men, they skipped the first 7 years.
Yeah.
The first mediator we had, because I was trying to stay out of court, I said, here's what I want, 50-50 custody. They want extra this, that, this. And he's like, whoa, 50-50. Why do you wait till they're 7 and they're fun? And I said, because I don't know where I'll be when they're 7. And I'll tell you, I changed every diaper from day freaking one. It's money in the bank because they know it makes you closer to every kid. And there's not women's stuff, there's not men's stuff. I can do everything. There might be stuff better for
Yeah.
fashion, but I will figure out a way that my daughter has somebody in my life. I have a few single mom friends, and they're much younger than me, but they're so helpful because it's also good for your kids to see a woman being nice to you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they'll think all women want to kick you and have you arrested. And so, whatever it takes, we've downsized our life, but it is the perfect life. And so,
Well, God bless you for that. But and I will also say that being that close and changing as many diapers, it also gave me a lot of material on stage.
yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, it is.
And I'll tell you one of them. The first time, we were feeding them, we fed them peas and bananas and carrots, and the color it went in is the same
Oh
color
yeah,
that came out. It was like a
yeah,
swirly, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
yeah. Well, there people say it goes by so quickly, but at first it does not go by quick. And you're looking at the clock, you're not sleeping. You got to feed every 3 hours. You got to do this stuff. But I miss this when you can hold the kid here, put him here, go sleep, feed him, burp him, bathe them. They're not running away from you. And the last thing I want to say, my son, my first child went immediately. And when my daughter came along, I could tell that the mom and I were not, going to be married. But also, I sensed the mom was like the girl. Yeah, she didn't get along with it. So I'm going to do everything. I'm going to give her everything, every moment, everybody love that my son got from she had a difficult C-section. Where you can see the C-section, you see it before. All of a sudden, I see a doctor look off. Another nurse comes in, puts his knee in her shoulder because my daughter got a little, and so she's out. She's on the other side of that thing, so she's feeling nothing. She's out. So the doctor would clean up my daughter. Says, take your shirt off, skin to skin. And there's people around. I don't usually like it, but I did it. So the first 4 hours of her life were right here. I romantically want to believe that helped bond us. When I got out of the hospital after having organ failure in February of 2020, got COVID, influenza B, something. First day home, I don't want my kids to, I don't want to, I'm not 100%, but I had a nurse there. And I just want to get back to it. My daughter's 4, and they'd say, you sit down when you go to the restroom, in case you get lightheaded, don't lock the door. That's what they tell me. The hospital, that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting in the restroom, peeing sitting down. The door opens. My daughter comes in, sits right next to me on her little potty, said, hi, Dad. And I tell the nurse, take this picture. And she did. I post it every year. But there are, it's a great life. It's satisfying. And I'm scared. I hope I live long enough to feel the feeling you guys have felt when they move away.
Yeah.
People talk about that a lot. Don't want to think about it. The first day they could walk themselves into school, I had to pull the car over and take a moment because they didn't need me to go. We got it, Dad. So there's, you want them to be independent. You want them to be,
Yes.
but, selfishly, that's, I hope that we have what you guys have.
Well, God bless you, man. I'm just glad to hear it because I hear it so very seldom. And
Yeah.
the business that I'm in and you're in, there are a lot of people that are a lot more selfish about those things. And when you start talking about the stuff that seems real to me, I lose them.
Yeah. Well, but it's so satisfying. It is selfish because I get so much out of it. It means so much to me. It's a different way of living.
The empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So I love it.
that's not the selfishness is, and I'll give you a good example as we're wrapping up here. But I was talking to a press secretary during the first Trump administration who claimed she was leaving to take care of her kids, and I said, if that's the case, I wish you well. I said, because you only get one chance to be a parent, and you want to take advantage of that. Work will always be there. but you only get one chance to do this right. And of course, then she ran for governor in Arkansas. So,
Jesus.
so I just find that it's when people are are taking care of the kids. I think that's one of the biggest problems in this whole country.
Mhm.
We just don't do it.
But I think if people sometimes have to work, moms have to work sometimes. They have to
Yeah, you
away.
have to work, but
You got to be. It's like a double thing, Bep. You got to give, do your best to give it. Men are staying home, which I like. That and but it is. You do have this one opportunity, and you could be the press secretary to this. That seems like a glamorous thing, but if your kids need you, it's a decision different people make,
yeah,
and a lot of times it has to do with the way you were raised. Uh, there's a lot of people in the military. There's a lot of women in the military that kids stay home with the dad. They're serving this country, the most honorable thing you could do. And the kids, I can't imagine when I'm gone for a week on the road, it's killing me. So that the sacrifice that they make for our country, because it's killing them.
yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for that, but the person you're talking about, I don't. The person you're talking about, Sarah Sanders, you know why she's blind tonight? Because they did, when she was a kid, they had lawn darts. And her brother threw it up in the air, and she stood there, and it got her right in the eyeball. And that's why she went blind.
That, and I remember those.
Yeah. All the kids stuff.
I can't believe we had toys like that. Here's a dart. Let me throw it at you.
Yeah.
With
There's a lot of
tip.
electronic stuff that is just that my mom is an alcoholic. Would give me all these electric. When she gave me this glass blowing kit, that it's 1,000 degrees. This one I was 6, But you're gonna try it if you're 6. You're like, yeah, let's keep cool.
I'll give it a whirl. Sure, yeah. I can do that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I hope we all have a good 2026. Better. I do think the courts are holding a little bit with Trump. I think that it won for them. It'd be chaos. He's gonna, and I think things will be better. He'll be worse, but I think that this country things will be better.
Well, with that, God, your your mouth to God's ears, as they say. And thanks for Tom for doing this. It's happy New Year to you and your kids, and happy joy to everybody else.
Yeah.
This is Just Ask the Question. I am your host, Brian Karem. Tom, thanks for being with us. We'll catch you next time.